In the year in the 1930s, Newport was a city that was in the hands of the gangsters. Crime became rule of the day, with citizens being scared, the police powerless, and politicians bought off by the city's biggest criminals. But all that changed when a team of crime fighters emerged from the shadows, led by two vigilantes and driving in their car, the Silver Phantom, and aided by new players, waged war on the city's gangland figures and other criminals. The main man was Benjamin Benny Cohen, a city councilman, but to the city of Newport, he was simply known as the Masked Dragon. Now, I'm Harrison Phillips, a city historian and butler to the Cohen family. I'm writing a series of entries about the Dragon's exploits and all of his adventures, all the crimes that were committed in the city, and all the criminals he and his allies brought to justice. And in today's story of the Dragon's Wars, we see our team uncover aspiring in the city during the era of World War II, and then they decide to join the war. This is the Dragon's Wars. In this story, let's jump ahead to 1942. This was the year of the Pearl Harbor attacks that brought America into the Second World War. But to our team, they had moved into their new and separate lives by this point. Mr. Cohen and Hilary Scott by this point were married, and Mr. Cohen was spending more time at City Council reforming and leading investigations with fellow Captain Warren to improve the city and especially to its more poorer residents, and further kicking the crooks out of office and especially dismissing crooked cops out of the police department. Mr. Green and Carmela Vici were working at Mr. Green's favorite bakery, and which has now become one of the most successful business in Newport. Tony by this point had reached to being an associate editor-in-chief at the city's biggest newspaper and hired his fiancée, Jody Jo Sherrill, as his secretary, and they continued to report the issues to the city that were really needed to be reporting, and especially were really giving support to the troops who had just by this point joined the war. Meanwhile, Lepke had gone on to open up not only a garage, but was even considering on going to college. As a result, the Masked Dragon and his sidekick Demon were rarely seen on the streets, with the question floating around, had they finally hung it up? Well, as turns out, they still had a few more adventures in them before this could actually happen. One day, as Lepke was walking around the city, he noticed a commotion where men were fighting who were speaking in a foreign accent, beating up a man, and Lepke decided to step in.
You're some kind of dish, ain't ya? Twist like let's see some blood.
I'm not the kind of game you mess with, pal.
It all turned out to be for nothing. The man that these guys were attacking, managed to capture him and escape. Lepke tried to follow them, but he couldn't. He managed to somehow write down the license plate, well, more correctly, memorize, and then went to Captain Warren, where he managed to then use his influence in the police department to track down a local warehouse. And that night, the masked dragon and the demon made their reappearance and went to the warehouse to see what was going on, once Lepke had told them of the events that had just transpired.
Shit! Shit! Cocksucker! God, give the responsibility to do so. Everybody here! Run! I'll get the boys down here.
Just as the fight was finished, they rescued the man, who was revealed to be a British agent trying to uncover a spy ring in Newport, being led by a high-ranking member of the now well-known terrorist organization, Ares. But back then, they were definitely part of the Allied forces during World War II. The Ares agent in question was Julian Grant, and he was in Newport to blow up the docks to sabotage the US. And oh, the British agent was me, Harrison Phillips, and this was the meeting where I met the team for the first time. And knowing I really needed help, and despite the questionable what they are, I agreed to have these two tag along on me to the docks. They came with me, and we were watching them plant explosives all over the docks, and even taking some stuff out of shipping containers, probably to either sell on the black market, which become pretty much profitable during this era with gangsters, or probably to send back to their Ares' brothers, no doubt to help fund their operations. But anyway, we were soon caught, and once again another gunfight quickly broke out.
Daniels! I got it! Daniels, let's go! Punch you in her nose. You're from That's right.
At the end of it all, Grant was dead, and to my shock, the vigilantes just disappeared. Now, as these vigilantes got back to their base, there was a man who emerged from the shadows. It was me. I knew there were more Ares members and that they needed to be taken down, and they were over on the other side of the globe. I asked if they would be interested in coming with me on this adventure, and it took them a bit of convincing, but they all agreed. They were shocked at how I managed to not only find them, but even uncover their identities. How? I'll keep that mystery to myself. In fact, I plan to take that with me to the grave. There needs to be some mystery after all. Now, for the public's sake, there was a story that Tony, Danny, Benny, and Lepke were drafted to serve, while actually they were part of a secret team to fight and take down the Ares organization. As the men said their goodbyes, not knowing where they were headed, but they did know one thing: they were going to fight for their lives. But they did not know if they would return. Hell, I didn't know at the time if I would return. That's war for you. You never know when the next day will bring you. And that is the end of today's story. Please join us next time as the masked dragon and the demon go up against the Ares forces in the next adventure in the Dragon's Wars. See you then.
He's all mine.